Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 3 of this season, the Stevie's Retirement Celebration Race, coming to today from Snetterton. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Joshua Wilkie. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Josh, we're here on Easter. Happy Easter, by the way. And we're here to celebrate Stevie's retirement. We're going to have a lot of fun here today, and to get all all up and rolling. We've got some rain racing here at Snetterton. The rain is already falling down, qualifying already underway, and this track is going to get steadily worse as time goes along. So this is probably the best time for the both of us to be in the broadcast booth.
Mentioning to the both of you there how much I would have liked to be out racing. I love racing in the rain in these cars, and it's a real blast. This is going to be a difficult one in the rain, though, isn't it, Ron? There is some very technical parts to this track, although there isn't too many of them today. There is a few very technical spots through Montreal, through Brundle and Nelson. Bomb hole, high speed in the rain. It's really easy to kind of bottom out and lose it there. I've seen cars have a really hard time there in the rain, so it should be a pretty interesting one. Again, you know, it's going to be difficult. There's a lot of elements out there to deal with, and these cars just are never settled. Even on a dry track, they're not very settled, so it should be a pretty interesting one today, I think, Ron.
And, you know, it's been a while since I covered Formula Fords. I think the last time I did was for the Weekend Warriors runoffs a couple of seasons ago when we were running at Willow Springs, which I don't even count that show. There was a shoveling misadventure that I had a little bit earlier on that day, had a snow bank or something like that fall off one of the kind of sided on awnings on the house, fall directly on top of my head. Don't know where it came from, how far it fell, but I know one thing for sure: I was in a daze throughout that entire broadcast. I remember nothing of that, so we're maybe going into this the blindest I've ever gone into a Formula Ford race, but I've covered these cars enough, both in this series and the officials, to know they're a bit of a handful even in the dry. So you throw rain in the midst, no dedicated rain tires as well. These are all-weather tires that are run on these cars. So this is going to be a very tough nut to crack for these drivers throughout this race. I want to thank you all for tuning into the broadcast here today. Still early in qualifying, but I think we can read a lot into the times that we have got on the board right now. Jake Williams is your current provisional pole sitter. Mario Ross is set to join him on the front row right now. Marcel Gorson, top qualifier currently in your Spec 2 category, is Alan DeGas is top qualifier over in the Masters class. But Josh, how about we take a look at those championship point standings? We're already a few races into the season, so we can start to look at the championship points with a little bit more intrigue.
Yeah, I'd actually love to look at the points. Unfortunately, guys, I have no feed here whatsoever. I can't see the race. My SDK is not working, and I'm sitting looking at a blank screen at the moment. So for some reason, I'm not connected. I'm not exactly sure why, guys. I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, SDK is not working for me here. I'm just looking at a pause screen at the moment, so I'm working on it.
And I shall be able to go through the championship points as I also get your production feed up. Stand by, Mr. Wilkie. But yeah, we've already had some races on the board. Here's how it looks in Spec 1, where Aaron Nom is your current top running driver at the moment. 201 points is his tally as it stands right now. Right behind him in second currently is Andrew Moran. Jason Chen, who's now taken on more of an administrative role here in this series. Haven't gotten the opportunity to talk about that because it's been a while since I've been on this show. He's slotted third at the moment in your championship points. Jackson Morley is in fourth with Jake Williams, your reigning Spec 1 champion, running at your top 5 in the Spec 1 points. Looking at Spec 2 now, where series veteran Paul Jackson is currently holding on to the points lead. Raphael Boley is in second. P3 at the moment in your Spec 2 category is Jimmy Ledbacka, with Daniel Zippy Salmon slotted in fourth and Daniel Verone completing a all-Daniel duo right towards the tail end of your top 5. Now we take a quick gander at the Masters category as Jason Chen fires it off into the runoff area there in the back of shots. Antonio Reese is currently at the top right now. 159 points is his tally as it stands right now. Only 9 points behind him currently, very, very close in your standings, is currently, right now, it is Jurg Mani with Chris Murakami in P3. Alan DeGas is in fourth with David Lehman rounding out your top 5 currently here in the Masters point standing. Still a long way left to go in this campaign here in the Weekend Warriors in Season 2 of 2026. That's how it looks right now in our categories. You know, Josh, it doesn't seem like we've had a lot of racing, and that's because we really haven't. But at the end of today, we'll officially be through the first quarter of this season.
Yeah, absolutely, and I couldn't be happier here that we are keeping the lights on and keeping this going here on on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Couldn't be a better time here to see Stevie Ray, the 911. Big congratulations to Stevie Ray today. Of course, his retirement after 50 years in simulation, I believe, some service in the United States Air Force, then moving into a civilian role with Southwest Airlines, and just awesome stuff here. Stevie Ray has started something that's so much bigger than himself, so much bigger than us here with the Weekend Warriors, and it's just a pretty special thing. So it's awesome to have him retired. Congratulations to him and his family and everybody else today, and we're going to be happy to see him on track, hopefully a lot more. Getting some more practice in and stuff, and who knows what he's got in the future here for us. So we're really happy with him at SMB, and congrats goes out to him and his family and stuff today for the 911. Hopefully he has a good race, sitting in 13th at the moment overall, and I believe 4th in class masters.
So we'll do an onboard lap with Stevie
Nice.
in a couple of moments
Yeah, I
time.
can do that for you.
Do
Whoa!
want to congratulate Stevie as he slides off the track, heading off into the final turn. But we want to congratulate Stevie on the retirement.
Oh, no.
Obviously, that's a big deal as another driver goes off into the
difficult spot.
runoff area right behind. Yeah, very difficult spot indeed. But I would also like to thank Stevie's wife, Sherry, for making the broadcast possible here today. But let's do an onboard lap with Stevie as he heads his way across the stripe into turn number 1. Now, this is a long run up into the first turn at the start of this race. Golly, it is going to be a real tough nut to crack. But even in the rain, it is tough. You can see a little bit odd the line that you have to take through here, especially with the wet conditions. Look at the amount of standing water down there as well. It is absolutely brutal. Now down into turn number 2 of Montreal. This hairpin is always tough. It's a good overtaking spot, but maybe slightly muted because you have the turn 3 kink right on the outside that will keep these drivers on their toes as they head their way down the Bentley straightaway off into Brundle and Nelson. Turn number 4 and 5 in a few moments time. There's the longest flat out blast of the lap. A bit of time to take a breath, but even with the rain, that's not going to be too much of a point of rest as we've got turn number 4. Look at the standing water heading through there as that's a driver just sliding all over the place. These drivers are going to be dancing with the devil throughout this. I think it is most certainly fair to say. Here's bomb hole of turn number 6, and you can see the standing water just puddling there on the inside line. Only here in the UK would we have Snetterton, a track built on a former RAF base with a turn around it named after a bomb hole that was left there during the Second World War. And you can see
A
off
literal bomb hole. Yep.
turn number 6 into Murray's. A spin
Great
right
shot.
into Stevie Ray. He keeps it going in a straight line, and that right there is a
Love the
rather
onboards.
scenic route of Snetterton.
Yeah, that was now you're getting a really, really good view there through Stevie's eyes of just exactly how difficult that final section is. And it looks to me as if maybe it's actually building a little bit here as well. So it's getting wetter perhaps. But that final section, is difficult in the dry, let alone in the wet. You have to just tiptoe through that section right now. As we saw, I'm not sure who that was who spun in front of him. Maybe it might have even been Aero Nam, which means, that's not an easy place to get through at all. And today's going to be a difficult one. Again, this is going to be about decision making. It's going to be about patience. If you can kind of just survive this race and not spin 3 times or not spin once, if you can make this race and not spin 1 time, you have a good chance at a podium, I think, today. And that's kind of the way these races go. If you can just keep it together, stay calm, try not to make a zillion passes right away, just watch everybody kind of go to the wayside and drive through it. And that's what I try to do when I get into these. But of course, it's very easy to just immediately get into a battle with someone and that all goes out the window and you touch a curb and then you're facing backwards. And it's so easy to do in the rain. I believe watching Adam Bradshaw here, 19th. Doesn't look like he's plugged a proper lap in yet, but the 929 here out seeking that lap right now. Not easy as well, when you're behind somebody like this. What are they going to do in qualifying? Open qualifying is a difficult scenario. You have somebody in front of you maybe who's on an out lap, or they're not as fast as you, and they kind of plug you up here. Looks like it's what's happening to Adam Bradshaw. Didn't lose too much time there through that section, though, I don't think.
Yeah, so Bradshaw about to come across the stripe. Yet to see a representative lap time from him, but he was green in the first 3 sectors, and believe that he may round it off there. Actually, yeah, does slightly improve on the time. It's a 1:30.1, which is still quite a long ways off of the rest of the field. But Bradshaw, he's Not going to have a very good time here in qualifying. But yeah, good point brought up by Guido in the production truck. Completely escaped my memory here, getting this show up and rolling. The first qualifying laps were set in either bone dry conditions or darn near close to it. Certainly a lot drier than what we've got right now. So Bradshaw, probably the best time that he could set right there with the rain falling down quite heavily upon this track. Jake Williams will be your pole sitter, as we saw a driver firing it off into the runoff area right around him. But Williams, Josh, you got the opportunity to cover him already this season, and a little bit last season, and I got the chance to cover him both in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors and in the officials as well. Williams in that 59 car, he is a very fast driver in these Formula Fords, a steady wheelman.
Yeah, absolutely, and the racecraft as well that he's shown. I believe it was even in our runoff race there that we had that was also in the rain. Was just awesome. They were back and forth, really good spatial awareness, no diving on each other. No, they know how to race. They know their racecraft. It's a 40-minute long race. If you dive and fight in every single corner and you fight for apex every corner, you're not going to survive the race. And if you do survive the race, you're just going to end up going backwards the entire race. So, it's one of those things. JCar knows that. Mario Ras, Andrew Moran, Aaron Nam, Marcel Grosjean, these people up at the front understand that, and then in the middle of the pack, it starts to be a bit of a knife fight. People fight at apex. People fight for every corner. And man, oh man, it can be tough back there. So the likes of Kane Lasky here in 8th place, really fast driver, really good racecraft. If you get caught back there in 10th, 11th, 12th place, it is a knife fight to get back up towards JCar Williams, where the racecraft is just a little bit smoother. Yes, it's fast. Yes, they're faster out there, but they're not hacking at each other quite as much, and the race tends to be a little bit less like a knife fight.
Yeah, so it's a little bit sophisticated out there. It's not just a stabbing match, when you do go for a swing out here, it's not with a knife. Chances are it's probably going to be done with a gun, but that can sometimes be a little bit cleaner, less movement involved in that. Man, my Philly is really speaking out here. Let's round off qualifying, shall we, before we start talking about guns and all that stuff. And let's take a quick gander at today's starting grid here for round number 3 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. It's going to be Jake Williams starting from the pole position. He'll be alongside Mario Ross in the number 5 Slowpoke machine. Andrew Moran will be in third. Next to him will be Weekend Warriors veteran, now finally getting into the groove after returning to the series a couple of seasons ago, Aaron Gnome, completing row number 2. Row 3 will be comprised of your Spec 2 pole sitter of Marcel Gorson. He'll be alongside Jackson Morley in 6th. Your Masters pole sitter of Alan DeGassis will be alongside Kane Lasky, with David Lehman and Alexander Gorson completing your top 10.
Yeah, and then we have Edgar Sanchinelli, Frito Sport Racing Team, and admin of the AMS League here on Slow Motion Broadcasting on Tuesday nights. Make sure you catch that one. Antonio Reese will be in 12th place. A Masters driver, Stevie Ray, admin Slow Motion Racing, in 13th. 14th, we have Jason Chen. In 15th, we have Jeff Wubker. 16th, Jimmy Latbaka. In 17th, Paul Jackson. In 18th, Leonardo Pinero. In 19th, Adam Bradshaw. And in 20th, Steve Adams. And that's going to round out our field today. 20 drivers in this race. And it looks like we're not quite as wet, are we?
Yeah, it looks ever so slightly drier. Now, there is a little bit of fog and haze, and I think the rain may still be coming down, although it is significantly lighter than what it was before. And actually looking at the iRacing weather forecast, the winds are howling. 32 mile an hour winds. That is a Midwest breeze, but here that is just that is going to be bad. Thankfully, these cars don't have much when it comes to aerodynamics. Otherwise, they would be all over the place here. But the rain is going to be falling out there. You can see the rain's still coming down lightly out there on the track. The track is still wet, and the spray is coming off the back of the cars. However, this may get not fully dry, but we may be in that kind of like half dry, half wet scenario as we get towards the end. It's currently being marked as moderately wet with 64-degree track temperatures. That's going to be real tough. But as we get a little bit farther along, Josh, this track may be even more of a handful, with half of it being completely dry and the half of it still being rather damp.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You're out there driving around, first in practice, dry track, and then qualifying super wet track. So you get used to that, and it's a fairly even keel then, right? The whole track is wet, so it kind of feels relatively the same. It's not going to feel like that right now. You can see how patchy it is out there, and it's only going to get more patchy, Ron. So that's a great point you bring up. It's not going to be as easy, and this is going to be kind of new ground for everybody out there as this track continues to well, what looks like it's going to be drying up. Of course, it could start raining and get a little bit more rainy, but it looks like it's probably going to dry here, and that's going to throw a whole nother wrench into the gears for these guys. Like I've said before, I'm pretty good in full wet. Once it starts to dry out, you really do have to you really do have to change the way that you drive. So this start's going to be really important, Ron, and we're about to get one here. Looks backing her up. Gonna wait for those lights, maybe.
And waiting for that green flag to come out here on the rain at Snetterton, which it has now. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing here in the UK. Fantastic start from Jake Williams. He's going to look to try and lead him off. Heading into turn number 1, he will do so comfortably over the rest of the competition. Andrew Moran jumps into second. Mario Ross dropping down to third. Drivers looking just to get off to a clean and smooth start here, but it hasn't happened for Ross. He spins out of turn number 1. Mario Ross finds his way into the barrier right away after starting this race on the front row. He's going to drop down early. Another driver dropping down, Jason Shen, who I don't believe took the start at all. He's now out there on the racetrack, slowly but surely rolling off. But Shen, all the way at the back end of the field, currently locked in 20th. So as we see these drivers head their way down the back straightaway, up at the front, it's rather tame. Farther behind, though, it is still a hornet's nest.
Oh my goodness, the 92 there, maybe with some spatial problems, perhaps maybe just showing his nose, but almost made some contact there going into this corner before they even got there. Yeah, and unfortunately we lost. Wow, Andrew Moran just holding on to it there over the curb. We lost Ross, I believe, right away there. It looked like a pretty easy spin, I think. I think the 92 just skating in front of Kane Lasky there. Absolutely love seeing these cars in the rain. I'm not exactly sure what it is about it, but I love it. Stevie Ray now being attacked on the outside of the corner, but the number 46 going to try to squeeze his way through there. Not going to quite make that one work. Probably thought a little bit better of it, I think, Ron, and slowed that one down. But up front here, Jake R. Williams kind of running away with it. Andrew Moran as well right behind him. So same sort of players there, I believe, up at the front that are starting to pull away. Kane Lasky here trying to make some moves up a bunch of positions right off the bat. I was expecting that from him. To move forward. He's got great racecraft out there, good thinker in the car, but he's of course being attacked here by Jackson Worley. Gonna have a look now at what happened to Mario Ross here. So he's following Andrew Moran, looks like he's in about third place, gonna have a little wiggle, catch it, and then unfortunately it's just gonna kind of slither out of his hands again, and that's so easy to happen. That initial grab looked like you had it, didn't it, Ron? And then all of a sudden that just tiny little snap just takes it away from you.
Yeah, it's little moments like that here in the rain. A small mistake can have massive consequences. It wasn't even a mistake. Just dipped the wheel off into the puddle, got a sideways wiggle through the turn. He ends up on the curb as Marcel Gorson just did there. And you can see kind of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 maneuver that I talked about a little bit on the Formula V show yesterday. Driver gets stuck on the outside and there's no mix of, gas, brake, clutch, steering, shifting. Doesn't matter what you can do, you're going to be sliding off. Similar shades of what just happened to Paul Jackson there. Goes a little bit wide through the turn, hits the grass, very well composed.
Yeah, Paul Jackson usually very good in the rain. He usually excels here. You don't expect to see him, even with that little bobble, probably move forward today. He seems to have it in the rain. But looking at Antonio Reese now, just trying to defend, maybe a little too hard there on the outside. Probably should have gave that position up instead of trying to fight for it there. That car just did not have the grip to be able to make that happen. Now looking at Jake R. Williams out front here. So this is from the lead going into T1. He's very middle of the track at the moment. It's a bit of a strange entry on that one. He's going to go very wide, snap it, try to save it. Andrew Moran's going to just give him a little love tap on the way through. Going to lose at least one position here. So far ahead, hasn't lost another position, but wow, that was a close one. He's lucky to get away with that as well. And same with Andrew Moran here. That little tap didn't hurt either car. It looks like they're both doing just fine still. And look at the gap they have already made on this field as Aero Nom goes very wide and makes this a bit of a fight here. The 92 still out there front. Not an easy one, man. They are sweating right there. Kane Lasky looking for a way around Jackson Morley at the moment. Jackson Morley, not an easy guy to pass.
As we've seen some drama. Yeah, Bradshaw, he's gone off the circuit, heading off through 4 and 5, trying to get his bearing straight once more. I wonder if this is either similar shades to what just happened here with Sancinelli, who we can see have a sideways wiggle all through the turn and eventually just catches up with him. That 4 and 5 section is always rather brutal in the dry. If you miss that first apex ever so slightly, it's going to make that runoff into turn number 5 look very appetizing, as that's exactly what happened with Adam Bradshaw. The point that I was going to bring up there, if things go down off through turn number 4 that aren't very good and you go wide into the runoff area on the inside of 5, there's a nice little curb there on the inside that for these Formula Fords will, how can I say it, act like a launching ramp for them to just fire off into the sky.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of attrition out there today for sure. Really easy to kind of, I guess, you know, like you sort of lose the back of the car and you catch it, and then it wants to step out a little bit again. And I've seen it happen 3 or 4 times now. You almost just need to kind of go numb on the controls a little bit for a minute and just let the car go straight. If that means you're going into the grass a little bit, just go into the grass a little bit. It seems it's so hard to see that in the moment or to feel that in the moment. But again, having serious troubles here. Aero Nom, not an easy track today at all. There's a lot of curb and a lot of paint and stuff to touch here, and you're usually using it. You're using those curbs a little bit, and you're using them as reference and just kind of getting down and touching them often to kind of make these corners. Ed Sancinelli here behind, believes Stevie Ray. Looks like he's going to have another moment here into this high-speed left-hander. Gets it a little bit wrong there, and then asking a little bit much of the car. Such a difficult spot there. You can see trying to take a little too much momentum through there, and we've seen a couple cars just a little bit too much speed through that section. You got to whoa it up a little bit more. Just Paul Jackson now also off the road again in 18th place. So we are seeing quite a bit of attrition here now. Andrew Moran is caught back up to Jake R. Williams.
On Marcel Gorson, he's going for a spin heading off through turn number 1. Similar shades to what we saw happen with Mario Ross right towards the start of the race. Only one retiree so far. That is Adam Bradshaw, who's decided to call it a day after starting at the back of the pack and running into some issues so far. He's decided to call it quits. Jeff Wubker also dropping down right now as side-by-side racing up on the front. Andrew Moran, who took that race lead off of a mistake from Jake Williams. Williams now looking to fight back. Moran and Williams now battling in a pretty much battle all of their own with 11.2 seconds of margin back to Kane Lasky, who's currently running at your overall podium in 3rd. But Moran got to look to try and hold on to that race lead. Williams got to look to try and take it back. These battles in the rain are going to be so treacherous for these drivers, doubly so on a track like this, where although you do have some good heavy braking zones, the likes of turn number 2 and turn 4 and 5, you got to think about the nature of going side by side through those turns in the rain. It is not a tantalizing prospect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a fight out there just to keep the car going straight. As we look, Andrew Moran now defending from Jake R. Williams, having a look around the outside. That looks more of like a intimidation move. There is a little bit of damage on the front of Jake R. Williams' rig there as well. It's not looking quite as pointy as it should on the front there, but doesn't look like it's hindering him too much at the moment. As it dries out, that may start to kind of come to fruition a little bit more. But Kane Lasky back there still fighting with Andrew Gorson, I believe, and Jackson Morley. So he hasn't quite been able to pull away from there yet. I just looked down over at the timing tower for one moment, and he's going to take a bit of a tour through the grass there. So that's not exactly the line that you want to take through that corner, but it did actually work out for Andrew Moran here. He's going to have to peel off a bit of a slowdown, I believe, as he's trying to do that. Usually in the rain, not too difficult to do because you're kind of going pretty slow as it is. And finally, the 92 of Jackson Morley is going to spin. You know, I saw him kind of struggling with the car there. He's really wheel manning that machine. And Mario Rass in the Ford EcoBoost liveried machine there also going to be sitting in the middle of the grass there. So, wow, Ron, it's not an easy one out there. Looks like Andrew Moran is slowing here as well. Something may have happened between the two here. Had an incident just before. perhaps, and it looks like in the background there, I saw somebody going very, very perpendicular to the racetrack. So I think maybe we had a crash, maybe a couple crashes here. We're going to be on board with Antonio Reese right now, looking around the outside of the Labatt's car here, trying to find that outside line. And he's unfortunately going to get that one wrong, isn't he, Ron? That was looking for a pass, I believe, there. And unfortunately, looks like he just kind of hydroplaned into the car in front of him.
Yeah, unfortunate for all parties involved as the gap up at the front has ballooned. We saw that slowdown that Andrew Moran didn't serve until that start-finish straightaway. You brought up a good point talking about the slowdowns in the rain. You could usually just get them served just by you know, driving around. The slowdown system has been a little bit broken on iRacing. Once they brought in the rain, they didn't really change the metric whenever you were racing in the wet, so you could just drive along by yourself and be fine. But Moran having to slow down quite a lot. We saw Williams bowling into turn number 5. That's Jackson Morley, an immediate Alt F4 as he drives into the side of David Lehman. Easy mistake to make. We've seen it play out already through 4 and 5, and unfortunately just saw it get put on full display. Both drivers pick up a meatball flag. Morley's back in the pits. Mario Ross is Alt F4, and Lehman with a meatball as well.
Yeah, that was a big one. You know, Morley usually good in the rain too, and I think, you know, it happens to me sometimes too. You get out there and you have some confidence. I'm going to go fast today, and I have a bit of speed, and I'm pretty good in the rain, and it just kind of throws its head at you, and you just can't sometimes. You just can't gather it up. It's happened to me before, so, you know, Jackson, I'm sure he's usually good. You know, in the rain. I've seen him do well in the rain, but, you know, sometimes that confidence can kind of bite you a bit. As we're looking again, Andrew Moran having a bit of trouble in this drying conditions here we were speaking about early in the race. You can see now that the track is beginning to dry quite a bit, and there's puddles everywhere, and there's some dry patches. This is when it gets really difficult. Your line drastically, radically changes now. That line that you were using before is no longer the line you can use. I believe we were just jumping away from him, and we saw him losing control again just as we jumped away there, and it looks like he's gone into the rhubarb. And unfortunately, that's a black flag, and he's going to have to go back to the pit now and serve that. And it looks like he just decided to pit himself and take off here. I'm not sure he's going to start again. So that curb getting him on the inside, and then unfortunately out to the middle of the track. He is sitting in the pit right now, currently stated as out. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he stays, Ron.
Yeah, he's decided to call it a day. Understandably frustrated after grabbing that race lead as a result of the mistake from Williams. Wasn't able to hold on to it for long. Had that mistake and things snowballing out of control. Once he got that black flag, decided to call it quits. You know, only a few minutes into this race, I was already worried about the prospect of those incident points. My mind flashes back to probably about a year and a half ago here in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors when we were running at trying to think of what track it is now. It's in the UK, Cadwell Park. We were running in Cadwell Park, and I think we had like only 5 drivers finish that race, held in heavy pouring rain conditions, and unfortunately just did not work out for many people. As Alan DeGassis, painfully slow. Something may be broken on that car. He didn't have a slowdown at the time. Now finally getting his bearing straight. Alexander Gorson gonna blow his doors off as he gets past. Jake Williams goes off the track as well. That's right towards the back half of the circuit, heading off through turn number 7 of Coram. Thankfully has an 18-second margin between himself and Aero Gnome. But after the off-track moments we've seen from Williams so far, and that contact off through turn number 1 between himself and Andrew Moran, he's got to worry about those incident points, as everybody does throughout this field.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the biggest things during these rain races, at least personally for myself here, is we're going to check a quick replay of Jeff Wubker here going into T1. Looks pretty copacetic so far. Going to lose a little hydroplane, little snap, catch it, and then unfortunately in to the paint. So easy to do. We've seen it a couple times now. You get that initial snap, you catch it, and then it gives you another little snap that you have to catch. You need to be ready for that second one. That second one, like I said, you almost want to go numb on the controls and just let it go straight for a second, because trying to fight that second snap just never seems to work out, unfortunately. But yeah, a difficult one out there. J.Car. Williams leading 16 seconds now. So actually, Aeronam has pulled 2 seconds on him since you spoke before, maybe 30 seconds ago. So that wasn't even a full lap, and he's caught up 2 seconds. Maybe just a little incident up front there quickly for a moment. Currently looking at Kane Lasky here as well, who's been plugging in some laps, up 5 positions at the moment. Jason Chen just behind him. Spoke about him at the beginning of the race. I believe he was in 20th place starting, maybe even from the pit. He's up 10 positions now, and he is in 4th place. So he wasn't in 20th, but far back there, and he's up front. So Jason Chen has figured out the rain. I remember racing with him before. He's kind of struggling in the rain a little bit. Looks like he's got the number here. Marcel Gorshin on our screen right now, going a little bit wide, trying to hold that position from Leonardo, who's also up 10 positions. So great race from the 8th place driver there.
Yeah, Leonardo Pinheiro, he's gone off to a fantastic start, has the Brazilian. This is the first time I've gotten the opportunity to cover him here in this series. I believe it may be his series debut in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, with a driver of that number 46 car putting on a valiant effort so far. Nearly just got a move put on Marcel Gorson, who's leading at the moment in Spec 2. Saw some sideways wiggles for a lot of drivers, and I wouldn't be too shocked if these two have it go on, for the simple sake that we're talking about them. Probably going to lead to a commentator's jinx, but in the meantime, they are still nose to tail. That's Paul Jackson going off the circuit. That's a little bit farther back. That is heading out of the final turn. I wonder if it was actually a sideways snap through 7 and just had to shortcut his way through turn number 8 to try and get rejoined on the racetrack without any further incident. We'll take a look at a replay. This is the entrance off into Coram. This long, seemingly never ending. Really, nothing turned to some, but it is a menace here in the rain, and actually doesn't lose it through the turn, loses it heading through the final turn, turn number 8. Simple little sideways snap as he got towards the apex, spins off the track over that outside curb. He's going to go, gets it turned around without any further incident. Currently running in P11 at the moment, is your championship points leader in that class. So maybe a night and a day to forget for Jackson as he gets another move put on him. This is Antonio Reese that he's going side by side with down the backstretch off into Brundle and Nelson. And he's going to be able to get that move done without any real fight, although a bit of a sideways wiggle there from Antonio. Ooh. Every single time that I see those sideways snaps, I get a little bit worrisome.
Yeah, they're not easy to catch, man. It's really not. You really have to have some fast hands for sure. Basically, you just don't want it to happen is the best thing you can do here. As you see, I believe that was Edgar Sanchinelli pulling into the pits here for his pit stop. Looking like, I'm not seeing pit times here, but I would imagine we'll keep an eye on Sanchinelli here and see kind of what his pit time is like. And maybe we can kind of look at that versus everybody else's, how he's doing. But here's Jimmy Lapbacker. We're going to have a replay of him. Looks like going into that very, very difficult, slow section here, and unfortunately going to lose it right on entry. So it looks really wet still there. There's a couple really dry areas of the track, but this back end of the track looks like it's holding a little bit more water, perhaps, than some parts of the track here. People still having a lot of issues through that section there. You know, that section you're kind of tiptoeing through anyways. You come through this spot here that we're just watching Marcel go through, and then you really, really have to slow it down before sort of that curb, that big bump on the inside, and then you want to kind of get on the power after that. So you're really getting it slowed down. It does, you're really hustling into that corner, and I think that's why we're seeing a lot of people spin there. You're asking a lot of the car in that moment as you're coming in and kind of leaning on it on that right-hand corner on the brakes at the same time. Then you need that big direction change to the right-hander through that section, and it looks like it's catching a lot of people out. Today, Alan Degassis in 6th place, first in Masters for the 904. So pretty good racing for him. No real competition in Masters. 13 seconds you'd have to go back to see Antonio Reese in the 914. And you'd have to go back another few seconds after that to see Jeff Wubker in the 909 in Masters. So Alan Degassis doing very well, actually leading the S2 driver of Marcel Grosjean at the moment, just behind him. We keep an eye on that. Maybe Marcel will catch him. But Jake R. Williams out front, 18 seconds. Was about 16 a few laps ago. He is holding that position. He's actually made a little bit of space there, so he's fairly comfy at the moment. 18 seconds. We've seen people out in the grass for 18 seconds. That can be one corner, if you mess up royally, and we've seen it. So it ain't over till it's over. Still not even quite halfway there.
Yeah, and seeing in the YouTube chat, my dad saying that he was making lunch a few moments ago to Tam, so some food discussions going on, but also drivers and viewers talking about the conditions out there on the racetrack, how it looks noticeably drier from how it was when we started this race. I'm curious, Guido, if we could potentially pull up the weather bug, because I looked at it in sim. Track's being marked off as slightly wet, but here's something that I've never seen before. 57 degrees Fahrenheit for your track temperature right now. That is bone-chillingly cold by iRacing standards. Just this past Thursday, I was covering a race with the Porsche Club of America that saw track temperatures get as high as 154 Fahrenheit. We've got 57 Fahrenheit right now. I was always under the impression that the lowest it would go is about 63. We're 6 degrees below that. 57 Fahrenheit is to the point where usual track activity would maybe be stopped. Because, you know, race car tires, they're much like race car drivers in the sense that they need very specific conditions to operate properly, otherwise they're going to throw a temper tantrum. I say this as somebody who drove for 10 years himself. 57 Fahrenheit for the track temp. These drivers are basically driving around a massive meat dehydrator. This is shockingly bad track conditions, so no wonder why these drivers, even as this track begins to dry with the 39 mile an hour winds, which are still howling around this place, now getting up to 40 and 41 as Carson with a sideways snap off through bomb hole, proving the point that I was just going to say. Even though the track is starting to dry, even though he just saved it, this track is still absolutely hellish to race around.
Yeah, that is a great point to bring up. It's cold. It's very, very cold track. So you're out there doing your very, very best to get those tires warm, and it just ain't working, I don't think. And that's probably why we're seeing so much skating around there for sure. But yeah, it's definitely a chilly one out there. We saw that was quite the save there as well. Just fully sideways, opposite lock. Some good avoidance from the drivers behind him as well. Alan DeGassis now again in the 904 here, just having a look. Still kind of holding things off from Leonardo here, our new driver, doing great in 7th place in the 46 there, driving nice and clean and smooth. Unfortunately, Paul Jackson off the road again, so he's out there pushing it, trying to find same corner as well, I believe, here. So having a hard time getting it woed up for this final corner here. You know, it's not an easy one. Again, you're really, really leaning on the car. You're leaning on the brakes here while you're turning, so you're trying to slow down as you're turning. You're getting as close as you can, and then usually you want to nip that curb on the inside. You've kind of got all your braking done, and you get on the gas. But again, just asking just a little bit too much of the car, I think, through that section, as well as touching that inside curb that is just like, I mean, it's like ice, like you said. It's the track is so cold. I think they're probably really struggling just to get temperature and grip out there no matter what. It may have even made it worse as it dried out here. You know, that you've got the slippery surface of the water, and then you've got that cold track underneath you as well. It's just kind of a double whammy. And then the wind, you know, as well. I would imagine they're feeling a bit of that wind too, Ron. So conditions just being thrown at them today at the Snetterton 200, and we can see it. There has been a lot of attrition out there. You can see our timing tower, actually, if you look up. Not a whole lot of yellow or orange numbers there, and that indicates that there's big gaps in between everybody.
So we just saw a sideways snap there from Leonardo Pinheiro not too long ago. He kept it out there on the racetrack. Let's see this mode for Edgar Sancinelli heading his way down the backstretch under the bridge into 4 and 5 right here. This has been the trouble spot all day long, and Sancinelli, who went off here earlier on, has another off-track excursion, and people asking in the YouTube chat for the Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. I did that just now. 13.8 degrees Celsius. That is bone-chillingly cold, and for anyone looking for the wind in kilometers per hour, that is about 67.5 kilometers per hour wind speed.
Which is crazy.
That is, I mean, that's to the point where if that happened in the city of Philadelphia, I'm pretty sure the city would fall into bedlam. I would be smelling what people in South Philadelphia would be having for dinner.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen wind that strong in the game before. 67K. I mean, that's enough to, you know, blow your umbrella out of your hand, or your you know, the one outside there that sits in your lawn set be flying down the street at 67 kilometers an hour. So, I mean, these cars don't have a lot of aero, like you said, but they're definitely going to feel something like that, you would think. And it's an invisible force out there pushing you around. So that could really have something to do, you know, with some of these accidents we're seeing into the final corner and into that section, perhaps there's a 67-kilometer-an-hour tailwind pushing you through that corner that you can't feel. So every time you go through it, you're like, why does this keep happening? I don't quite understand. I'm on the brakes, but that wind might actually be pushing you through the corner. And then on top of that, you have this patchy, cold track in front of you that just keeps changing. It's not going to be an easy one. It's like a living, breathing thing. Racetracks can be in these situations. It's almost like they're jumping up to grab you at certain points. Every corner's different than the last time you went through it here. Aaron Nam holding second place pretty well here. He's done really good through this race. He was a winner of our last race, our last round there. Kane Lasky just behind him as well has been plugging away, making some positions up. And we have a spin in the background there. Alan DeGasse is going to lose a position, but still retain the Masters lead here. Let's see if we can't see exactly what happened. I'm wondering if there's a big tailwind into this section, Ron, because we are having a lot of issues into here, and it seems like the drivers just can't seem to kind of get their braking period quite right. And I'm wondering if maybe that wind is right there. Maybe it's pushing them sideways. Maybe it's behind them a little. I think maybe that's the case.
Yeah, potentially. It's looking like that. I mean, that's usually the trouble spot, even in the dry. But you throw these adverse conditions these drivers' way, and it's just cranking that up even more. But Tam bringing up in the YouTube chat, the lap times are going down. Looking at the field right now, pretty much a vast majority of them were able to set their best laps of the race last time around. So super duper good lap times compared to what they started with. The track right now being marked by iRacing in the sim as being lightly wet. So it's still the same from how we called it a few moments ago, but with the wind still howling, that is going to allow this track to dry out even quicker, even with a slightly smaller field out there on the racetrack right now. DNF's taking out only 3 cars currently. Some drivers a couple of laps down currently. Your entire top 10 are the only part of the field that is currently on the lead lap to leader Williams, who is still holding on to a comfortable margin, although should be brought up. You can see the pit stops going on aplenty for the field, although most of them have been as a result of incidents out there on the racetrack instead of just genuine calls to come down pit lane. One last point that I'm going to bring up here, talking about the weather. I'm well traveled in reference to being here in the US, not well traveled in terms of traveling globally, but if the winds are always this high in the UK, no wonder why Mary Poppins was able to fly away with just an umbrella.
Yeah, I do think, they have quite a bit of adverse weather. Actually, just looking in the chat here, one of our fans here saying, Manchester, no snow where I am, but he's in a bowl anyway. So we're talking about weather out here. It's actually getting pretty chilly. Not quite snow weather out here yet, but it is getting pretty cold. You can see that dry patch now really drying out underneath Alexander Grosjean there. So you're going to be able to use stuff like that. Not exactly sure what you would want to do in this. I think I would probably want to be in that dry stuff, trying to get my tires as warm as I could for the rest of the track here, trying to kind of warm them up, maybe get some grip out of those tires. Looking in the chat as well, I believe it was your dad here saying these cars look like you did in the dry in the kart. So he's taking shots at you a little bit there, but pretty fun stuff. I would say these things must relate a little bit to the karts, right? This is basically like just a really big go-kart. But yeah, you would know better than me about something like that. You did a lot of racing in the rain and stuff there, I would imagine, Ron, being a mudder. Pretty cool stuff. Not an easy task, though, is it? Especially in these open-wheel cars.
Oh, absolutely not. I love racing in the rain. I love racing in open wheel cars. I love racing open wheel cars in the rain, but I'd be lying if I said it was easy, because it isn't. First time I ever got into race in the rain was at the SCCA Solo Nationals in Lincoln, Nebraska in 2016. That's the biggest event for what I did back in the karting days. So it's imagine as if the first time a kicker ever had to kick a field goal was at the Super Bowl. That's pretty much what was in store for that. It was an experience, I can tell you that with confidence. And that's a slide for Marcel Gorson heading his way off through the final turn, parks it on the curb. But these cars are very similar to karts. You brought up a good point there. I remember doing some testing for a Ray Esports event way back in the spring of 2024. It was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, granted, the other car has received some significant updates since then, but I remember at that point, it had been only a year since I hopped out of my shifter kart, but I was left there driving around the track, banging down the gears, hopping over the curbs. I was like, man, this is the closest I could probably get in sim to driving my shifter cart. Albeit my shifter cart, it's kind of what my father was alluding to. We had a 2002 chassis, a 1999 motor, and a 2004 driver, which was not a winning combination, I can tell you that with confidence. I have seen boiling hot pudding harder than that chassis was.
Yeah, gear definitely matters, doesn't it? And that's one of the things in motorsports is the IRL stuff change. It's nice in sim because we all get the same car. It's perfectly prepped and there's no problems. In real life, you're out there doing the best you can, right? Your mechanic is your dad or yourself, and you're bringing the kit and you're running what you brought, and that's the way you have to do it. And every once in a while, somebody's gonna have a bunch of cash and be able to kind of bring a machine that's maybe running a little bit better and stuff like that than others. But we don't get that in sim, which is really nice. But it's cool to get a little bit of insight from you there, Ron, into the IRL stuff. Must have been so cool. As we see Marcel Grosjean again having a spin. So holy cow, man. Just I'm one of those things we mentioned earlier, maybe didn't touch on quite enough, is they only get 13x in these races, and then you have to pit after that. You're going to take a rather large, what's the word I'm looking for? A stop and go. That's what I'm looking for. And it's going to take you about 20 or 30 seconds in the pit to get that stop and go done. I believe it's 26 seconds, maybe, if I remember correctly. And that's going to knock you right out of competition. I would imagine, Ron, that there is a number of drivers out there that are floating on the edge of that 13x and trying not to go off track in those races. I know I've personally been doing really good in a few of these rain races up front, close to the front, and then get a 13x, and you're just trying so hard not to go off track. So I would imagine there's some drivers out there now, the likes of Marcel Grosjean, that we've seen go off track at least 4 or 5 times now, that those X's are starting to pile up to the 13. So it's 13x until you get a pit stop, a drive-through, and then 18x you're disqualified. And that's how the Weekend Warriors run that X system. And man, that 13x, it seems like a lot. It's not when you're out there racing. I would imagine most people are about halfway there at least.
Yeah, so those incident points have been the incident points have been very, very prevalent for these drivers throughout the pack. They've been collecting them like Pokemon cards. Have seen some pit stops go on over the past couple of moments. Saw Alexander Gorson come into the pits. Marcel Gorson is right up in front of him right now, only 2 seconds behind that brotherly duo right towards the tail end of your top 10. Steven Adams, a driver that I haven't covered before, currently holding on to the final spots inside of the top 10. And anybody who is curious as well, Jason Shen, he keeps getting marked as being out. That man is doing incredibly well, considering that he has a Wi-Fi modem that I'm pretty sure is made out of a cereal box. He's been blinking in and out all day. He's still holding on to 4th at the moment and is effectively all by himself with 24 seconds between himself and this little pack of cars. Wow. And Leonardo Pinheiro, who just came down pit lane in the number 46 machine, the Brazilian, making his debut, holding on to the final spot inside the top 5. He'll drop down a couple of places with that pit stop, but still a debut worth some praise for the case of that Brazilian. As we still have this fight here, Aaron Nom and Kane Lasky, 2 drivers looking to contend for the final 2 spots on the podium. With how far Jake Williams is away, this will probably feel like the battle for the win. Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely the battle on the track to watch here for sure. 2 very competent drivers here. We should see some sparks fly here pretty soon. I would imagine Kane Lasky probably fairly happy to stay behind Aaron Nom, and he is going to follow him into the pit here, which is what you want to do in this situation. You're going to want to stay close to that driver there. Maybe you could stay out and flip, and try to undercut him, but I think it's probably best just to follow him in. We're going to get side by side here into that very, very difficult section. He's going to let that one happen. So it looks like a little bit of teammate, maybe team orders going on. Maybe not team orders, but team, oh boy, and a little bit of a gauntlet to get through there. That's the 92. I believe that's Jackson Morley, and a big sideways snap as well. He's going to catch that one. And this is Antonio Reese, who we also just saw a little bit perpendicular to the racetrack here again. So we're going to go in. Entry is going to be correct, and then we're not going to get it quite slowed down enough right there. Probably touched that puddle a little bit. Oh, and then a ton of avoidance here from the 92 and stuff as well, losing some time. So, again, drivers clicking off those X's, Ron. That's going to be a 2X, a couple X's for some other drivers as well. J.K. Williams now
in the pit lane. I believe that is going to leave Jason Chen on track at the moment, so he may inherit the lead here for a moment, but maybe not even. That gap is so big, he might not, as he's blinking in and out, so not an easy one there as well for the drivers around Jason Chen right now with his Denny's internet.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. But Jake Williams will probably exit out in time before Jason Chen even gets onto the start-finish straightaway, and in fact, there it is. So Jake Williams comes into the pits with a race lead, exits out with the race lead still. He's only he's only a handful of laps away and about 6 minutes away from glory here. I nearly said 4 minutes there. That is not correct. We are 4 minutes past the final 10 of this race starting, and we are starting to see that dry line begin to form. However, it's not formed enough for these racers to feel too comfortable out there. If the dry line would form, we usually talk about in drying conditions with these cars how tricky it may be just to keep the tires underneath you. At this point, I think these drivers would be excited to have some overheated tires, because they'd probably be in the perfect operating window. We're now at 56 Fahrenheit for that iRacing track temperature, and to break out the conversion yet again, that is 13 1/3 centigrade. So that is just, I remember once driving in the annual Rust-Off event that we had with the Philly region of the SCCA, driving one time in temperatures that were even colder than that, which explains why I speared off the track and went about 15 feet off into the grass, just inexplicably going through a slalom. Rear end said, no, and just fired off the road.
Yikes. Yeah, that's scary. I actually went one time to a go-kart race, professional go-kart race, and they set it up right in the middle of the town I lived in, and it was a pretty small little town. Some people might know it, Barrie, Ontario. So that's small compared to some people, but a little town. And the go-karts ripping through town, and they made a track, right through basically Main Street and around a couple blocks. Me and my father were sitting beside a piece of scaffolding, and one of the drivers went off the track, and he shot through the scaffolding. I don't know if you can picture this in your head, but basically scaffolding has sort of an X brace in the middle of it to hold it up, and he fired straight through that X brace, straight through the scaffolding, out the other side onto the sidewalk, and actually crashed into a business, into one of the buildings. He was fine, of course, but it was a pretty wild thing to watch on a go-kart. So, you think that they're, maybe not dangerous, if you're out there thinking about, the go-karts maybe that you've been in your life. Some go-karts, like Ron was driving, those shifter karts and stuff, they're as fast as these. They're as fast as some race cars, and it is not a joke out there. You can go off track, you don't even have a seatbelt and stuff in there. So pretty crazy stuff in that open wheel stuff. Just a quick story from some of my motor racing experience. Unfortunately, never really had a chance to sit in one of those things, but I did get to watch them once, and man, oh man, it was pretty cool. Watching, I remember them going around a corner too, and being up on two wheels almost every single corner they came through this one spot, and it just blew my mind as a young kid. So must have been pretty cool out there, Ron.
Yeah, I think I've shared this story maybe once or twice on the air, but 2021 SCCA Solo Nationals in Lincoln, Nebraska. Both the front tie rods decided to go on strike at about 70 miles an hour right as I was slamming on the brakes. So you can imagine how fun that was in a kart with both front tires pointing in opposite directions, coming to a stop in 90 feet. I hit the gas tank, which was in the middle of my legs, and as a result of that, I probably will not be able to have any offspring. So thankfully, there will never be a junior version of me. I think good news for everybody in that regard. Stevie Ray, we ride on board with him. They're currently holding on to 14th at the moment. Jason Chen actually has a little battle right now for the final two spots inside the top five. It's himself and Alexander Gorson side by side into the Montreal hairpin. Looks like he'll be able to hold on to that spot for now. I think those blinking out issues that have been dogging him throughout the race have now officially gone away. So he's actually got some good Wi-Fi connection instead of that cereal box he was running with earlier. Maybe also helps the fact that the rain is far, far away from this racetrack. Rain, go away, come back another day. The dry line beginning to form, and we get into the final stanza of this race. Jake Williams going to grab the white flag next time by, was just able to set the fast lap of the race this time by with a 21.5-second margin between himself and Arrow Gnome.
Yeah, some pretty good racing here. I haven't seen Jason Chen blink out yet. Alexander looking for a way around Jason here, and he's going to blink out in front of him and blink again, and he is disappearing. This is so difficult for Alexander behind. You want to make this pass. It might not even be worth it. You want that top 5, but you know, it's nearly impossible to pass somebody like this. You want to try to maybe get as close as you can to them and then just squeeze through, but that's going to be very difficult. Unfortunately, Jason Chen dealing with some internet issues today, maybe going to throw its head. Steven Adams here, I'm just looking on the timing tower with a black flag. He's going to have to come in. So one of our new drivers doing really well today, actually up in 12th place. Unfortunately, going to have to take a pit stop here by the looks of it and knock that black flag out. Everybody has pit now, I believe. J.Car Williams just clicking off fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. He's going to go on his white flag lap right now. He is 23 seconds ahead of Aero Nom. Kane Lasky just behind Aero Nom. Looks like he's going to hold that position as well, as long as this last lap goes well for him. Jason Chen and Alexander Grossman, probably our closest battle. You can see on our timing tower there, 3/10 behind. So he's still looking at the number 25 here in the rookie onboard car, trying to find a way around him. He may be able to get this done before the end of the race, and he is going to go side by side with Jason Chen now, and he's going to get that one done. So Jason Chen going to let that one happen. I'm not sure, maybe he is aware of his blinking there and really doesn't want to hurt anybody's race. So some really good racing there from Jason Chen. Either way, whether he gave that up or whether he knows he's blinking, either way, that was some really good driving from Jason Chen. It looks like he is going to try to fight back here though into T1.
And will we see that side-by-side fighting flare up into one? We will not, with a blinking out car side-by-side racing through turn 1 in the rain, in the cold here at Snetterton. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, but they keep it clean, they keep it smooth, they keep it running all right for now. Is Stevie going to pick up a black flag farther in the back, as not too far behind those racers running in the top 5? Jake Williams going to see the checkered flag to win it here at Snetterton. Some sideways wiggles as he comes onto that start finish straightaway. He's going to win by at least 22 seconds over Aero Nom, as a battling still on between Gorson and Jason Chen side by side. It looks like Gorson gets to turn number 5 first, but a shallow approach may cause them to be chopped neat as they come towards the final few turns. There's Aero Nom grabbing P2. Kane Lasky about to finish in 3rd, as Leonardo Pinero also able to jump up into P7, a battle with himself and Antonio Reese, as Jason Chen once again gets abducted by a UFO. Looks like he'll be unsuccessful in a charge to try and get past Alexander Gorson, unless Gorson loses it, which he does, and that's going to give Jason Chen P4.
Jason Chen has the patience. He waited behind. I think, honestly, Jason Chen there knew he was blinking, and he's just playing ball really well, being a really good competitor there to kind of just sort of stay out of the way a little bit. Maybe, you know, try for a pass, but not really dive, and just be nice to Alexander. And Alexander unfortunately tripped over himself on the last corner, and Jason Chen's gonna adopt that position. So 4th place for Jason Chen, being a great competitor out there, making sure he's not getting in the way too much with that blinking there. So hands up for him. That was a really good one. J.Car Williams going to take today's win in our S1 category. Marcel Grosjean going to take the win in S2, and Antonio Reese in Masters. So wow, Ron, look at this track, still drying out there. Sun's starting to come out. Looks like you could probably go out now, have a little picnic, maybe hang out in the sun. Pretty nice. Looks like it actually shaped up to be a pretty good day by the end of the race here, but that was a difficult one. Holy cow. I haven't seen so much attrition in an FF race in a very long time, Ron. That looked very difficult for everyone.
Yeah, that may have been the most catastrophic commentator jinx I've ever pulled off there right at the end, talking about Gorson as he slid off the track into the final turn. That's... I'll throw my hands up. That was on me. Whoops. Lesson learned. But let's take a look at our race results here at the end of round number 3 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at a cold and rainy Snetterton. Sounds like most of the UK. I say that with a lot of British people in the chat. I may end up getting my head put on a spike.
Hey, they
Williams
know.
grabs
they're
the
sport.
win with Aero Nom in P2. Yeah, they are good sports. We love
great
everybody
sports,
in the YouTube chat. We joke about the UK, but some of the best damn racetracks in the world.
Some good
are
chat
in the
today
UK.
too. It's great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, there we go. So Jake Williams grabs the win over Aero Gnome in second. Kane Lasky rounds out your podium in third. Jason Chen will be classed in fourth. Alexander Gorson after that. Commentator Shanks Falling Anvil will complete your top five.
Oof.
Leandro Pinero will finish this race in
There we go. We'll get that one right,
making
Leandro
his series
Pinheiro.
debut. Antonio Reese is in seventh, winning in the Masters category. In the process, Alan DeGassis will round out your top eight right behind him, with Marcel Gorson and Edgar Sanchinelli running at your top 10. Some love to Marcel Gorson for winning in Spec 2 here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jimmy Lapbaca in 11th place. Jeff Wubker will be taking 12th. Jackson Morley out there just fighting the car today, ends up with a P13, so good on him for getting that one together and sticking it out till the end of the race. Stevie Ray missing out right at the end there, unfortunately, with that black flag. Could have potentially even, I'm hearing in the chat here, could have potentially even got a podium if he wouldn't have got that black flag. We may have missed that. Paul Jackson in 15th, also struggling out there today. Usually really good in the rain, but having a bit of trouble today. Steven Adams, new driver. Great to have you out there, man. Hopefully we'll have you back on the next one. Good finish on the 16th. David Lehman is going to be 17th. Andrew Moran also 22 laps down. He's going to park that one, and as well as Mario Rass and Adam Bradshaw are going to park those cars, not finish the race today. So wow, a lot of attrition in Stevie's retirement celebration race today. Ron, that was not an easy one at all. Stevie did pretty well as well. Get a 14th there. Unfortunately, that black flag gonna kind of hurt him a little bit at the end. But I'd say all in all, pretty good stuff. Lots of attrition. Just getting some great shots of the track itself here. Just some statics. Pretty awesome track. I really do like this place a lot. It's pretty fun. But man, in the rain, whole different scenario.
Yeah, it's a wild one for sure, and thankfully these drivers will maybe not have to worry about the rain next time out. It's actually no, it's running at Portland. That may end up being a little bit rainy up there in the Pacific Northwest, but looking forward to that one next time out. For now, though, let's have a chat with some of these drivers, shall we? And I don't believe our race winner, Jake Williams, is going to be joining us here for a chat, but let's have a chat with the man who is basically best of the rest, our P2 finisher here in this race, the Estonian and the Weekend Warriors veteran of Aero Gnome, who will be joining us here in the broadcast booth momentarily. Aero Gnome now with us here in the booth. Aero, welcome in. It's P2 for you in this race at Snetterton. That looked like maybe the toughest race that I've ever gotten the opportunity to cover in my time covering Weekend Warriors racing. So how do you talk us through how tough it was out there?
Yeah, it is in the start. It was, I can't explain it. It's so tough. You can't move the steering wheel. You can't touch the brakes. In the turn, you will lose the rear. You go a little bit on the grass or on the curbs and you spin. So it was very, very difficult. Yeah, with so many cars in the group I was, so it was, yeah, nightmare.
Yeah, and I saw during this race the track temperature is dipping to about 13 degrees Celsius. That is freezing cold, especially for race car tires, doubly so with the rain. So was that maybe the hardest race that you've ever had to drive?
Yeah, maybe. I think last time we raced there it was even worse, but I had no experience then. Even now I haven't raced in the rain much, so it was, yeah, the first lap is really hard. You don't know how fast to push and so on, and the driving line, yeah, it was difficult.
It looked like a very difficult outing, but a good result for you, P2 at the end of this race. For the next round of the series, though, in 1 week's time, we're going to be racing at Portland. Have you ever gotten the opportunity to race around Portland? And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
I think I have done something. Yeah, I think we raced with the same cars here a few seasons ago, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it will be a very good track again. I think it is more driver's track.
Yeah, that was a super fun one. Kind of historic in the world of American Open Wheel with IndyCar racing there for many, many moons. But Aero, before we let you go and celebrate this P2 run and potentially get some rest after what was probably a stressful day behind the wheel, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the drivers there, all the admins, the sponsor, and you guys there in the booth.
There you go, man. Well, hey, Arrow, thank you for the kind words.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
for joining us in the booth. Well done on the P2,
racing.
and we will see you next time out at Portland.
Yeah, see ya, guys.
And that right there was our
Bye-bye.
second place finisher of Arrow Gnome with us here in the booth. And Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you and ask who you would like to have a chat with.
What do we got up in there? Let's see. You know what? Let's have a talk with Lasky. I haven't talked with Kane in a while here. We'll get him in our third place driver. I'll drag him here right now. Oh, you got him. Kane Lasky gets a third place today. That was a hard fought race there, Kane. I know that you're a thinker in the car. I know that you're out there planning stuff and making sure, you know, that you're driving clean. It looked like a bit of attrition, a lot actually, for a lot of the other drivers. How was it out there for you today? How'd you approach this one?
I didn't practice one lap after the disappointment of last week of just getting run over in the middle of the corner. I didn't expect too much because I saw that it was rain. I did no practice. So to get on the podium, I'm super excited and happy, and the race was thrilling because I don't know if you saw, like I had one slide that must have been like 150, 200 yards into turn one.
We probably did catch it. We got a lot of them out there for sure. It looked hard. It looked like difficult conditions today.
And so at the end, like I was driving perfect, but you know, an inch, you're on the puddle or whatever, and so I made a few mistakes that cost me seconds. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And, you know, so, but at the end of the day, I hung on to the car, and I did exactly what I wanted. I was able to catch back up to Arrow, who was in third, and my plan was I didn't do any practice. I had no fuel calculations. I just took 1.3 gallons of fuel instead of 1.6 because I figured because of the rain. And my plan was just follow him in, and when he dropped off the jack, that I would drop off the jack. But somehow in the middle of all of that, I actually, because I never even set the button usually to cancel the button. So what happened was I sat there, and when he left, I hit the button and it started filling me up. The whole time I was sitting there, it wasn't taking any fuel. So then I sat in there for another 13 seconds. So in the end, you know what I mean? After being a total bonehead, to get a podium out of it. And I had just an amazing, thrilling race with like 1,000 moments. Like, that was the reason people sim race right there. Like, that was so much fun. And I had such a great time. So I figured I'd come in and, give you guys a little bit. The only thing I'll say is, like, I don't understand how year after year and season after season, people don't understand. If you're up front, it does not mean you're fast. You're in the slowest dog shit car, and the draft helps you. And the only way you're getting on the podium is to figure out who has the speed and the consistency and not lose the draft, and let the fastest, most consistent people be in front of you. And so, when I'm trying to make moves, it's because I know that the people in front of me don't have the pace to even hold on to the draft. And with the open qualifying, it makes
we
it
spoke
even
about
harder.
it a bit actually we spoke about it a bit in the run-up, and it's the same thing in the SRF there. If you're you need to get some racecraft up front. I was mentioning up front, the drivers up front kind of know that, and they flow with each other. So if somebody's a little faster, you're going to let that pass happen before the apex. You're going to keep that momentum up, and you're going to keep going. If you don't understand that, and you have bad racecraft, you're going to hack the bone at apex every time, and all you're going to do is drive yourself backwards, and that's it. You have to play ball. I know I was mentioning, the middle of the pack is a bit of a knife fight back there. People don't quite understand that concept, and they're going to hack at the bone and try to get you. And, that's just part of racing. It's something that you have to break away from, and you did a good job of that today, catching up to Arrow and breaking away from that pack. We did see you caught sort of in that knife fight scenario there at the beginning of the race, but you did a really good job to break out of it. So pretty awesome stuff. I believe we're headed to Portland in our next round. That's a track that I have not raced around very much. Do you have any experience around there, Kane?
Oh my God. If I get on the podium next week, I'll tell you a short story. One of the most amazing tracks that I've ridden on from the experience, there's a lake in the middle. Okay, so normally there's not water near racetracks, and that means there's trees. So on that back straight that's curved all the way up to, like in some cars, 170 miles an hour, two things. The track is graded. So if you're right by the the wall, the retaining wall, the NASCAR wall, it's flat. But as soon as you get away from that, it has a negative grade because of the water. So on a motorcycle, like if you get too far out, you can't keep the throttle wide open because it's wallowing. But my point is, if you're in the wrong season, there is a vortex of leaves. You're not only in a draft of 4 or 5 or 6 cars in a very fast, 4th, 5th, 6th gear straightaway that's actually a curve, but there's a vortex of leaves. And talking about like creating awareness, like for you to be like awake and alive. The track itself, isn't that much fun, I would say. It's more of like a survival track, and like especially like turn 1, you get massive drafts. It's very bumpy, and turn 1 is first gear, 25 miles an hour. And it's another one of these type of tracks where if you make a mistake, you lost 4 or 5 tenths of a second. So better to like figure out when you're going to make your moves and try to qualify well and like keep it clear until the end. Because it's also one of those tracks where most mistakes, you're in the wall or barrier and your race is over. But looking forward to it. These cars are so much fun. Like, I don't know if they changed them recently, but for sure, this car feels like, 120 horsepower go-kart. And even in the rain today, like I maybe didn't have the right wheel set up, but yeah, it feels a lot like a go-kart. You are not always on the grip, and if you step on the gas a little bit too hard, you're basically floating out wide. Anyways, guys, thanks for everything. Sorry for all the adrenaline. It was definitely an adrenaline.
Oh, that's fine.
Great. And hope to see you next week. Thanks for the broadcast. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter.
Yeah, you too, Kane. Happy Easter. Great racing today, and that was Kane Lasky. Hanging it out there today for sure, getting right in the mix and making it up front as well. Always good to talk to Kane. It's been a little while, so good to talk to you, buddy. Have a good one. I think he's out of the booth now. We do have one more driver up there, Ron. Would you like to talk to him, or you want me to grab him?
Yeah, let's have a quick little chat here with Antonio Reese now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Hello, Antonio. Sorry, we dragged you in mid-sentence. Welcome into the broadcast booth. We were already expressing his displeasure, but welcome in. Congratulations on the Masters Class win. That looked far from easy out there.
Yeah, it was very unexpected, but it tastes good.
Yeah, we're seeing the onboard view of you heading off through turn number 4 and 5.
Yeah. How could I finish that position? I don't know. Even without fuel, the car was sputtering on the few last corner. I was trying to save fuel enough to finish the race.
Oh, he's opposite lock. Some good shots. We're just watching you here as well, Antonio, struggling with the car through, I believe that's what is that, Brundle. Not an easy section there for sure. Yeah, well, Guido was just saying there in the background. Obviously, our viewers can't hear it. You spun so many times. How the heck did you end up in this position? But it was one of those races everybody else did as well. Lots of attrition out there for sure. How'd the track feel to you? That was difficult, the changing conditions.
Yeah, it's always difficult on the rain. I'm terrible for the driving on the rain. I'm very hot kind of type of person, and then I like to push, and then when I push on the water, the car just starts spinning every time.
Yeah, it's true. You step over the bounds and it just bites you right away. Yeah. Sure.
I want to go as fast as I can, and then bam. Oh boy.
We saw it happening for sure. We saw it happening to lots of drivers out there. The curbs, the paint, the changing conditions, not easy stuff. But you were able to come out with the Masters Class win today. I believe we're headed to Portland on our next race there. How you looking to that one? And then I'll pass you off to Ron here.
Oh, I have to buy the truck. I don't know.
Nice.
I have never driven there.
Pony up some dollars for it. It's a good track. It's fun. I really like it. Kane was just saying, it's not the funnest track. I've had some fun around it, and I like I like it. It's a pretty fun track. I think it's worth it's a beautiful scan as well. It looks really nice.
I will get it. Thank you for the tips.
Yeah.
No
problem. You want to take over there, Ron? You got some questions? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you, Antonio. We saw this track be bone-chillingly cold throughout. I think it was 13 degrees Celsius at some point. So was that maybe the hardest race you've ever driven?
Well, it was not the worst. I have one before the last season on this same track with the same car was much worse than today.
See, I guess I was not around for that one, because this is... I mean, what's funny is over the past like 5 broadcasts I've done, I've seen track temperatures ranging literally about 100 degrees Fahrenheit from like 154, which I think that would convert to like 60 or 70 degrees Celsius, something insane like that, all the way down to 13C. It's just absolutely insane. But Antonio, will we see you out there for the Spec Racer Fords a little bit later on?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll see you on the booth, but you will see me on the track.
Well, we will look forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack, regardless, Antonio, whether we get to have a chat with you or not. But we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs before you get some time in that SRF.
Yeah, a big shout out to Stevie Ray's wife sponsoring the broadcast today. And for you guys for a great show. You always put a great show. Thank you so much. And for all the community and all the drivers, and for Steve Ray, I don't forget Steve Ray is the number one, and all the viewers. Thank you so much. Appreciate, guys.
Yeah, thank you as well, Antonio, for joining us in the booth. Well done on the Masters win, and we will see you in those Spec Racer Fords later on.
I hope so. Yeah, take care. Bye.
And that right there was Antonio Reese, our Masters class winner here at Snetterton. Josh, that was maybe the most challenging race I've ever gotten the opportunity to cover. Again, talking about the whiplash of covering one race that had 154 track temperature down to 57 for this one. This is that I am very happy that I was here in the broadcast booth, because if I was there behind the wheel, I would have made even more of an ass of myself than I usually do as an announcer.
Yeah, it was a difficult one out there today for sure. I kind of relish those opportunities, to be totally honest. I wish I was out there kind of struggling with the drivers as well. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually really like conditions like that. It's pretty fun. I do miss the FFs quite a bit, but today might have been one to miss, perhaps. It was definitely difficult out there. The drivers that did make it to the end and get those wins, congratulations. Anybody who finished today, congratulations for finishing this one. Not an easy race. We are on to our SRFs now, and Portland next week, Ron. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. I woke up this morning feeling terrible. My back absolutely killing me. Took a whole bunch of painkillers, and I'm feeling pretty good. I almost want to get in the seat for SRF here, so I might be begging you guys to do that one. But we shall see how it goes here in the next little bit. Getting some pretty cool shots here. I'll let you finish her up, Ron. I think we probably have some upcoming shows coming up soon here, as well as some special events in the pipe.
Oh yeah, that we certainly do. Of course, coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we've got the American Muscle Series, the second to last round of the championship, running at Silverstone on the Legacy 2008 scan of that track on the old Grand Prix configuration. That'll be part 1 of our regular Tuesday night doubleheader here on SMB, as later on we'll be able to bring you F4 action from Sim Racers Group. That'll be down there, down under in Winton, with the SRG F3 Series also running at Road America about 24 hours after that. Next weekend, we've got you booked with the Formula Vs running at Summit Points, the Formula Fords at Portland, and the Spec Racer Fords running at the Circuit of the Americas on the NASCAR West configuration. That was only recently added into the sim. Not too sure many people have gotten the opportunity to race around there or not, but we'll get the opportunity to broadcast around there, and that is going to be super, super fun. But as Josh alluded to, we do have some other action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Come time for May, we'll be able to bring you the first ever running of the Adam W. Estep Memorial Mustang GT3 charity race. It will be broadcasted live here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Entries are still open for that event. Of course, you can catch the action here on SMB. You can donate through the QR on screen right now, and also join to learn more about this this series as well, this event, I should say.
Yeah, that'll be a great
Mustang GT3 cars. Lots of drivers out there on the racetrack, including our very own Charles Boshell, who's with his family on Easter. Want to wish him well. He'll be back in the booth come time for next week, along with the American Muscle Series this upcoming Tuesday as well. But I think with all that taken care of, that'll just about do it here for round number 3 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. Thank you to all of you for tuning into the action here. We hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, how about to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But after this broadcast here today, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Joshua Wilkie joining me in the broadcast booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not-too-distant future.